Beanle woke up before sunrise. The sky over Thorn was still dark, filled with stars that never blinked. The wind was sharp and cold. He put on his coat and stepped outside the small outpost. It was just him out there. No cities, no people, only trees, ice, and the quiet hum of machines. He had lived on Thorn for 2 years. His job was simple. He treated small injuries for miners and scouts who worked nearby. But most days, nothing happened. So he fixed machines, grew plants, and listened to old music. That morning felt different. As Beanle checked the sensors, he saw something strange. The ground scanner showed heat near Sector 9. That area was full of rocks and thick trees. Nothing should be there. He took his bag, packed supplies, and drove his crawler out across the frozen field. It took him nearly an hour to reach the spot. When he arrived, he stopped at the edge of a deep crater. Smoke rose from the bottom. Metal pieces were scattered everywhere. A small pod, black and round like a seed, had crashed into the ground. It was not a mining drone. It was not from Earth. He had never seen anything like it. Beanle climbed down carefully. The pod was cracked open. He smelled burned metal and strange chemicals. Then he heard a sound, a soft breath. Someone was inside. He rushed forward and looked inside the pod. There was a girl lying there. Her skin was pale, almost silver in the sunlight. Her clothes were torn, made of smooth black fabric that didn't look like cloth at all. She had golden eyes, half open, looking at him without fear. She was hurt. Badly. Beanle pulled her out of the pod. She was light, too light for someone her size. He placed her on a small sled and pulled her back to the crawler. The wind had started to rise, snow falling in soft flakes. He drove fast, trying not to look at her wounds. Back at the outpost, he cleaned her cuts. There were deep burns on her arms and legs, but they didn't bleed like normal wounds. Her blood was thin and clear, not red. Her skin healed slowly as he worked, almost like it was remembering how it should look. He checked for ID, for any sign of who she was, but found nothing. The girl didn't speak for hours. She lay still, eyes closed, breathing slow but steady. Beanle sat by her bed and watched. Every time he looked at her, he felt a mix of worry and wonder. She was not like anyone he had met before. Later that night, her eyes opened again. She turned her head toward him. "You helped me," she said, her voice quiet and rough, like someone learning to speak for the first time. Beanle nodded. "You were hurt. I couldn't leave you." She stared at him. "You're human." "Yes," he said. "My name is Beanle." "What is yours?" She didn't answer. Her eyes looked past him, toward the wall, as if she was remembering something far away. "I don't know if I have a name," she said at last. Beanle sat down on the chair beside her. "That's okay. We can figure that out later. You need rest." The girl closed her eyes again. For a while, there was silence. The only sound was the wind outside and the soft hum of the heater. Then she spoke again. "If you knew who I was," she said, her voice flat, "you would have run." Beanle didn't move. He just looked at her. "I don't care who you are," he said. "You were hurt. That's all I needed to know." She turned her head slowly to look at him. There was something in her eyes now. Not fear, not pain, something else. Maybe confusion. Maybe something close to hope. "You don't understand," she whispered. Beanle stood up. He checked the medical scanner again. Her body temperature was still too low, but rising. Whatever she was healing. "I don't need to understand right now," he said. "You're safe here." The girl didn't speak again. She closed her eyes and rested. Beanle watched her for a moment, then turned off the lights and left the room. He sat in the control room and looked at the stars through the window. Who was she? Where did she come from? And what did her words mean? Beanle didn't know, but something deep inside him said this was only the beginning. The next morning, Beanle woke up early. His first thought was about the girl in the other room. He walked in quietly and checked on her. She was awake but silent, lying still on the small bed. Her golden eyes followed him as he moved. Beanle gave her some warm water. She took it, drank slowly, and nodded once in thanks. She still looked weak, but her wounds had closed faster than anything Beanal had seen before. He tried not to show his worry. After breakfast, Beanal went to his control room. He checked the outpost scanners again, hoping to find a clue about the crash. The pod had left no signal, no call for help, and no registration code. That was not normal. Every legal ship in space had a code, even smugglers used fake ones. But this pod had nothing. It was like it came from nowhere. Beanal ran a system check. He looked at space traffic logs for the past 3 days. Still nothing. No ships, no drops, no distress beacons. Then he tried to scan the girl's DNA. The machine ran the test and beeped once. No match found. He tried again, using wider settings. The same result. No record of her in the colony database, the Earth records, or even the deep-range charts. It was like she didn't exist. Beanal sat back in his chair, thinking hard. A person with no record, a ship with no code, wounds that healed fast, golden eyes that seemed to sharp. Who was she? Later, he returned to her room. She was sitting up now, her back against the wall. She watched him as he came in. "Do you remember the crash?" Beanal asked. She looked down. "Yes, do. You know where you were flying from?" "Yes." He waited, but she said nothing more. "Can you tell me?" She shook her head. "Not yet." Beanal didn't press. Instead, he brought her a soft blanket and a plate of food-warm roots and bread from his indoor farm. She ate slowly, carefully, like someone who hadn't had a proper meal in days. After she finished, she spoke again. "You are not like the others," she said. Beanal sat on the chair near her. "What do you mean? You are calm. You don't ask questions with anger. You don't fear me." "I have no reason to fear you," he said. She looked at him for a long time. "You will." Beanal leaned forward. "Tell me your name, even a small one. Just something I can call you." The girl was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Zira." Beanal nodded. "All right, Zira. You're safe here. I won't tell anyone." Zira gave him a strange look. "Why?" "Because I don't think you want to hurt anyone. And I think someone out there hurt you first." Zira looked down again. Her hands were shaking, just a little. Outside, the wind howled against the walls. The forest trees bent under the snow, their tops sharp like claws. Beanal checked the scanner again. Still no signal. Still no answer. He knew someone would come looking eventually. Pods didn't fall from the sky for no reason. But if no one had shown up yet, that meant either they didn't care about her or they were waiting. And Beanal didn't like either choice. Later that day, Zira walked for the first time. She moved slowly, her steps unsure. Beanal helped her walk to the front room, where the heater was strongest. She stood at the window and looked at the forest. Her eyes studied the land with strange focus, not like someone seeing a new place, but like someone measuring a battlefield. "You have a quiet world," she said. "Too quiet sometimes." Beanal replied. She looked at him. "That is why you stayed here alone." Beanal gave a small smile. "It's better than the noise of big cities. I like the peace." Zira nodded slowly. "Peace is rare." Beanal watched her face. He could see that her mind was full of thoughts. She was not just hiding something. She was carrying something heavy. A memory or a truth too large to speak. That night, Beanal sent a low-power signal to an old contact on another outpost. He didn't say much, just a check-in and a question. "Any sign of unknown ships or crash reports near Tharn?" The answer came an hour later. "No crash logs, no alerts, all clear." Beanal stared at the message. It made no sense. Someone should have noticed. Someone always noticed, unless they didn't want to. He walked back to Zira's room. She was asleep. Again, but her sleep didn't look peaceful. Her body was still. Her hands were clenched. Her face looked tight, like she was holding back screams. Beanal sat nearby, watching over her. He didn't understand who she was or where she came from. But he knew one thing for sure. Someone had gone to great lengths to erase her. And that meant she was important, very important. 3 days passed. Snow covered the trees like a blanket, and the sky stayed gray. Beanal kept the outpost warm and quiet. Zira healed fast, but she still moved carefully. She spoke more now. Though her words were always short, Beanle didn't ask too many questions. He could see she was not ready, but every time she looked out the window, her eyes searched the sky like she was waiting for something or someone. That morning, while Beanle fixed a broken panel outside, the base computer beeped loudly. It was a warning signal. He rushed back. An unidentified ships entering orbit. No ID. No signal. Beanle stared at the screen. For dark shapes moved above the planet. No names. No flags. Silent. Zira stood behind him. She had come without a sound. They found me, she said. Beanle turned. Are they after you? Yes, she said. They always follow. Beanle looked back at the screen. The ships were not landing, just circling, watching. What do they want? He asked. Zira spoke in a calm voice. To take me back, or erase me. Beanle stepped away from the screen. I thought maybe someone would come to help you. But not like this. Zira looked at the scanner. Her eyes were sharp now. No fear. Only focus. They are not here to talk, she said. Beanle paced across the room. I can hide you in the supply cellar. If they come to the outpost, maybe they won't look too hard. Zira shook her head. They will not land yet. First, they will watch. Then they will send scouts. Beanle looked at her. You know their plan. I lived among them, she said. I escaped. They don't forget. She turned and walked toward the window. Her hand touched the cold glass. You should not be near me, she said. It's not safe. Beanle crossed his arms. You said that before. I'm still here. Zira looked at him, eyes full of something strange. Not sadness, not anger. Something older. Maybe respect. You don't know what I am, she said. Beanle nodded. I don't. But I know you helped no one when they hurt you, and I know you could have left already. But you stayed. Zira said nothing. Later that night, Beanle turned off all outside lights. He told the base computer to run silent mode. The outpost grew dark and cold. Only small heat lines stayed on to keep them warm. He and Zira sat by the heater in the back room. A radio crackled once, then went silent. Beanle checked the scanners again. One ship had dropped something, a small pod, he said. No sound. Landing near the crater, Zira stood up. The scout. Beanle stared at her. Did they know I helped you? Zira nodded slowly. They know now. Beanle looked down. Then I guess I'm part of this. Zira's voice was steady. You don't have to be. I choose to be, Beanle said. Zira seemed to breathe deeper. Her body looked stronger now. Her movements were smooth, quiet, like a shadow. The next morning, Beanle and Zira took the crawler back toward the crater. They stayed hidden behind tall rocks. A small black ship sat in the trees, not far from the old crash site. 3 figures moved through the forest. Their armor was dark and smooth. No lights, no sound. Their faces were hidden behind masks. Zira watched them without blinking. These are not soldiers. They are called cleaners. They do not speak. They race. They remove all signs. Beanle felt cold. They are hunting you like a job. Zira nodded. Like a broken tool. One of the masked cleaners knelt near her old pod. He touched the ground, then pointed in a direction. The group moved fast, toward the trail Beanle had used to carry her. Beanle and Zira turned back at once. They drove fast, leaving no tracks. Snow began to fall again, covering their path. Back at the outpost, Beanle packed supplies. If they come here, we can't fight them. We need to leave. Zira touched the side of her head, where a small mark glowed faint blue. They will follow my signal. I need to block it. Beanle gave her a scanner helmet. Use this. It might help mask the signal. Zira took it and placed it on her head. She sat on the floor, breathing slow, her hands held tight in her lap. For a long time, she stayed still. Then she stood up. I stopped the trace. For now. Beanle nodded. We'll go to the caves near the ridge. They won't find us easily there. They left just before sunset. The sky turned red, and the trees looked like shadows in the firelight. Beanle led the way on foot now. The crawler would make too much noise. Zira followed close behind. Her steps made no sound. As they moved deeper into the woods, Beanle and Zira moved through the trees as fast as they could. The forest was quiet except for the soft crunch of snow under their feet. A cold wind blew through the tall pines. The sun was setting, and the sky above turned dark blue. The caves were still far. Beanle knew they had to reach them before the night scanners came. Cleaners used heat to track their targets. The snow helped hide their trail, but it would not be enough for long. Zira walked behind him, watching every direction. Her eyes never rested. She didn't look afraid. She looked ready. Beanle's scanner buzzed again. A red light flashed. Movement behind us, he said. About 500 steps. They are close, Zira replied. Beanle looked around. We need cover. Now. They found a large rock hill with an old tree growing beside it. Under the tree was a small gap in the stone, just enough to hide them. Beanle crawled inside. Zira followed, folding her body like a shadow. They waited in silence. The scanner turned quiet. Only the wind outside moved. Then they heard it. Footsteps, slow and careful. 3 shapes passed in front of them, tall, silent, armor dark as night. One stopped and looked around. The mask on its face turned toward their hiding place. Beanle held his breath. The figure stepped forward. Its hand reached out. Then a loud crack came from the trees behind. A branch had fallen. The figure turned, gave a hand signal, and the group moved on. Beanle waited a full minute before breathing again. Zira looked at him. Her face showed no fear, only calm. They're not just tracking, Beanle said. They're thinking. That one almost found us. They learn, Zira said. They are not machines. They act like hunters. Beanle nodded. We should keep moving. We're not safe. Here? They left the hiding spot and continued through the trees. Zira walked faster now. Her strength had returned fully. She moved like she had trained for this moment all her life. Beanle struggled to keep up, but he trusted her to guide them. By the time they reached the ridge, night had fully fallen. The stars above were clear, but the air was cold and sharp. The cave entrance was hidden behind thick vines. Beanle pulled them aside, and they entered inside. The air was dry and still. The cave walls glowed faintly from minerals. It was deep and silent, a good place to hide. Beanle dropped his bag and sat down. His back hurt. His legs ached. He was not a fighter. He was a medic. But today he had run from armored killers through frozen woods. Zira stood near the entrance. She didn't sit. Her eyes stayed on the shadows outside. They won't stop, she said. I know, Beanle replied. But we bought some time. Zira looked at him. You should leave me here. Go to the North Mines. You might be safe there. Beanle shook his head. I didn't leave you when I found you. I won't leave you now. Zira took a deep breath. Do you want to know what I am? Beanle looked at her. Only if you want to tell me. She sat beside him for the first time. Her voice was soft. I was made in a place called Redcore. Not born. Made. A lab deep under a black star. They made people like tools. Strong, fast, obedient. Beanle stayed quiet. I was called 07. That was my number. My job was to fight, 2 in battles before they started. I did what they told me, for years, until one day, I asked why. She looked at the ground. They didn't like that, so they tried to erase me. I ran, took a pod and escaped. But they followed. They always follow. Beanle listened carefully, and now they are here. Yes, she said, because I didn't break like they wanted. Beanle nodded. Then they're scared of you. Zira looked at him. You don't fear me. I see someone who chose to run instead of hurt people. That tells me everything. A deep sound broke the silence. A low hum. Then the sound of rocks falling. Zira stood. They found the cave. Beanle grabbed his scanner. Dots appeared on the screen. 4. Moving fast. He looked at Zira. Can we run again? No. She said. Not this time. She walked to the center of the cave and raised her hands. A faint blue light glowed from her skin. Beanle stepped back. What are you doing? I stopped hiding. She said. A blast shook the cave entrance. Stone flew inward. Dust filled the air. 3 cleaners stepped through the broken wall. Their Weapons were raised. Zira moved first. Her hands formed a shield of light. The blast hit it and vanished. She stepped forward and raised one hand. The nearest cleaner flew back and hit the cave wall with a loud crash. Beanal watched in shock. Zira moved like light itself. She spun, ducked, and lifted the second cleaner into the air. She twisted her hand, and the weapon dropped from its grip. With one strike, she sent it into the ground. The third tried to run. Zira didn't chase. She lifted both hands. The cave roof cracked. Rocks fell, sealing the entrance. Silence returned. Beanal stood frozen. Zira turned to him. "You saw it now," she said. Beanal walked forward. "You saved me." Zira gave a tired smile. "I don't want to fight, but if I must, I will." Beanal nodded. "Then I'll stand with you." Zira looked at the sealed wall. "They will send more." Beanal looked around. "Then we make a plan." The cave was quiet again. Dust still floated in the air, and small rocks rolled across the floor. Beanal sat on a stone, watching Zira as she stood near the sealed entrance. She had used her strength to stop the hunters, powers that did not belong to any normal person. He had never seen anything like it. She had lifted enemies without touching them. She had broken stone like it was paper. Zira turned toward him. Her face looked calm, but her eyes showed something else, pain. Not from the fight, but from the truth. "I'm not like you," she said. Beanal nodded. "I can see that now." Zira walked closer and sat beside him. "Do you want me to explain?" "If you're ready," he said. Zira looked at the floor of the cave. "I was made, not born. My body was grown in a lab. My mind was shaped by machines. They trained me to be fast, strong, and silent. I was supposed to be the perfect weapon." Beanal listened closely. She spoke slowly, like each word was a heavy stone. "I was called 07 because I was the seventh of my kind. The first 6 were failures. They broke. They went mad. I lasted longer. I followed orders. I won battles." She paused for a moment, then continued. "But one day, during a mission, I heard music from a small village. Just a simple song. And I stopped moving. I just stood there, listening. Something inside me changed." Beanal looked at her. "What happened after that?" "They told me I was broken," she said. "They took me back and tried to reset my mind. They wanted to erase the part of me that stopped for music." Beanal's voice was soft. "But you didn't let them?" Zira shook her head. "I escaped. I stole a pod and ran. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I wanted to be free." Beanal took a breath. He could feel the weight of her words. "You didn't choose to be made, but you chose what kind of person you wanted to be. That matters." Zira looked at him. "Most people run when they find out what I am." Beanal smiled. "I'm not most people." Outside, snow fell again. The cave was deep enough to hide them, but not forever. Zira knew that. Beanal knew it too. After some rest, they moved deeper into the cave. They found an old passage that led to another opening on the other side of the ridge. From there, they could see the forest and the sky above. Beanal used his small radio to send a message. He had a friend named Merib, an old cargo pilot who owed him a favor. "Need quick pickup, East Ridge. Quiet and fast." He didn't say more. Too many words could be tracked out. Then they waited. Zira sat with her back against the wall. She closed her eyes and stayed still. Beanal watched her. She looked like a soldier, but not cold. She looked like someone tired of fighting. "You don't like using your powers," Beanal said. Zira opened her eyes. "No, every time I use them, I remember what they made me do." Beanal nodded. "But you use them to protect, not destroy." "That's new for me," she said. Hours passed. At last, Beanal's radio buzzed. "I see your flare. Coming in low. 10 minutes." He had sent a low-energy flare earlier, hidden behind the rocks. Now it worked. Beanal helped Zira stand. She looked stronger than before. The fight had not broken her. It had made her more sure of who she was. As the cargo ship landed behind the ridge, snow blew in every direction. Merib stepped out. He was tall, with gray hair and thick gloves. He looked surprised to see Zira. "This the one?" he asked Beanal. "Yes," Beanal said. No questions. Merib nodded. Fine by me. Get in quick. They climbed into the ship. Merib lifted off and flew low across the forest. Zira sat beside Beanal, watching the trees fade below them. Where are we going? She asked. A quiet place, Beanal said. Merib knows a system with no cameras, no patrols. You could rest there. Zira looked out the window. They'll keep looking. Beanal nodded. Then we stayed ready. Suddenly, the ship shook. A sharp beat filled the cabin. Merib shouted, We've been marked. Small drone on our tail. Zira stood up. Let me see it. She opened the side door. Cold. Air rushed in. A black drone followed behind the ship, fast and silent. Zira raised her hand. Blue light sparked from her fingers. The drone sparked once, then burst into pieces. Smoke trailed behind. She closed the door and sat down. Merib stared at her, remind me not to make you angry. Zira gave a small smile. Only if you give me a reason. Beanal laughed. It was the first time he had laughed in days. The ship flew into the clouds. Heading toward a small moon on the edge of the system, Zira leaned back in her seat. I'm not just a weapon anymore, she said. I'm learning who I really am. Beanal looked at her. And you're not alone anymore. She nodded. No, I'm not. The cargo ship flew through the clouds, heading toward a quiet moon called Relin. It was cold, small, and full of rocks. Not many people lived there. That made it perfect for hiding. Beanal sat near the front window, watching the stars pass by. Zira sat beside him, her hands resting on her knees. She had not spoken much since the drone attack. Her eyes were calm but distant. Merib, the pilot, glanced back at them. We'll land in 20 minutes. There's a small bunker hidden near the southern hill. No patrols. No scans. Beanal nodded. Thank you, Merib. Just make sure nothing else explodes. Merib said with a smile. When they landed, the bunker was just as Merib said, small, strong, and hidden under layers of stone. Beanal checked the power, water, and heat. Everything still worked. It had not been used in years. They unpacked quickly. Zira stood at the door, watching the sky. They'll find us again, she said. Beanal walked over. Not right away. You stopped the drone. That bought us time. Zira shook her head. The ones who made me never give up. I was the only one who escaped. That makes me important to them. Beanal looked at her. What if you stopped running? Zira turned. What do you mean? What if, instead of hiding, we made a plan? What if we made them stop chasing? Zira was quiet. She looked out at the rocky hills and pale sky. They are stronger, she said. They have ships, weapons, and soldiers. We have a bunker. Beanal pointed at her. We also have you. Zira looked down. I don't know if I can face them again. Beanal put a hand on her shoulder. You already did. You saved me in the cave. You stopped the drone. You're not just a weapon. You're someone who chooses what to do. That's something they fear. That night, they made a plan. Beanal had hidden tech from old missions, signal jammers, shield pads, and a deep scanner. He set them up around the bunker, turning the rocky land into a trap. Zira helped him place the shields. She moved with focus and speed. She no longer looked like she was running. She looked like someone getting ready. They trained in the open field behind the hill. Zira showed Beanal how to duck, move, and fight if needed. Beanal was no soldier, but he learned fast. 3 days passed. Then, on the fourth night, the sky lit up. Merib ran inside. Ship incoming. Big one. No signal. They found us. Zira stood tall. Then it's time. Beanal grabbed the radio. We can still escape through the west path. Zira shook her head. If we run now, they'll just follow again. I have to end it. Beanal looked at her. Not alone. The enemy ship landed behind the hill. Dust rose. The ground shook. Then the side doors opened and dark shapes stepped out. 10 cleaners in black armor, silent and fast. Zira stepped out of the bunker. The wind blew through her hair. She raised her hands. Blue light began to glow again. The cleaners moved in a line, weapons ready. Beanal watched from behind a shield. He held a small device that would trigger the trap zone. The lead cleaner stepped forward and spoke for the first time. 07. Return or be erased. Zera's voice was steady. My name is not 07. I am not your tool. The cleaner raised his weapon. Beanle pressed the switch. A bright flash lit up the field. The jammers activated. The cleaner's weapon shut down for 5 seconds. It was enough. Zera ran forward. She moved like wind and lightning. She hit the first two with her hands, knocking them flat. She spun and kicked another into the dirt. The others tried to regroup, but Beanle used another shield burst to block their path. Zera lifted both hands. The ground shook. Rocks rose and struck to more cleaners. Her powers bent light and sound. They had trained her to fight. Now she used that training for her own cause. The last 3 backed away. One reached for a backup device. Zera stepped forward and crushed the device with a glance. It sparked and died. The leader fell to one knee. You are not meant to think. You are a weapon. Zera walked up to him. Then why are you kneeling? The cleaner didn't answer. Zera looked at Beanle. It's done. Beanle came out from behind the hill. He looked at the silent field. The enemy was down. Not dead. Just defeated. Merib stepped out too, shaking his head. I thought we were finished. You to just prove me wrong. Zera stood in the center of the field, breathing slow. They won't stop. But now they know I won't run. Beanle smiled. Now they know humans don't run either. Zera looked at the sky. The stars were clear again. No more shadows in orbit. No more drones. She turned to Beanle. Thank you for standing with me. Beanle nodded. Always. The bunker lights turned back on. The wind grew quiet, and for the first time in weeks, the night felt peaceful. The next morning, the sky over Relin was quiet. No ships flew above. No drones searched the land. The snow that had fallen during the night had covered the broken field where the fight took place. It looked like nothing had happened at all. But something had changed. Beanle sat outside the bunker, warming his hands near a small heater. Zera stood nearby, her arms crossed, her face calm. Her eyes were on the open sky. Watching the soft light rise over the rocks, she had not spoken much since the battle. Not because she was afraid, but because she was thinking. Beanle finally broke the silence. They will send more, won't they? Zera nodded. Yes, but not right away. Now they know I can fight back. Now they know I have help. Beanle smiled. And that help is just a simple outpost medic. Zera gave a small smile in return. The first one who treated me like a person. Beanle stood and walked to the edge of the ridge. He looked at the horizon. So what now? Zera stepped beside him. I learned to live. I learned to be something new. Beanle looked at her. And what about me? You helped me do that, she said, if you want to. Beanle nodded. I do. They spent the next few days building a new shelter near the base of the ridge. It was safer there. Easier to hide, but still open to the stars. Zera helped cut stone and build walls with her hands and strength. Beanle handled the tools and wiring. They worked like a team. There was no talk of running anymore. Each night, they sat outside and watched the stars. Zera liked to ask questions about Earth, about music, about the simple things people did when they were free. What is a garden? She asked one night. Beanle smiled. It's a place where you grow plants, food, flowers, a quiet place. Can we make one here? She asked. Of course, he said. So they began planting. Small seeds at first, hidden under warming lights. Zera watched them each day, curious about how something so small could become something full of life. One morning, Beanle showed her a small device with old videos from Earth. He played music. Simple songs, soft and warm. Zera listened with her eyes closed, and a small tear rolled down her cheek. That was the sound I heard before I escaped, she said. Beanle nodded. Maybe that's the sound that woke something inside you. Maybe it was the first human part of me, she said. Zera began writing in a small book. Her own thoughts, her memories, her dreams. She told Beanle that if something ever happened to her, she wanted to leave behind more than just power. She wanted to leave words. One day, a signal came through the bunker's scanner. Not from the enemy, Not from the ones who made her. It was from deep space, a warning beacon, a message repeated. In slow, steady words, Subject 07 confirmed alive. Human interference noted. Earth protection status reviewed. Threat level rising. Beano read the message twice, then looked at Zira. They know about Earth now, he said. Zira took a deep breath. Because you helped me. Beano nodded. Would you take it back? If you could. Zira looked at him. No, because I finally understand something. What? Beano asked. What makes us human is not where we come from, she said. It's what we choose. I was made to destroy. You were trained to heal. But both of us chose to protect. Beano stood in silence. Zira stepped forward. I thought being human meant weakness, softness. But it means care. It means standing for others, even when it's hard. Beano smiled. That's what they don't understand. That's why they'll never win. Zira looked at the stars. If they come to Earth, they won't find a planet of weapons. But they will find people who don't give up. Beano nodded. And they'll find out that humans don't run either. A week passed. Merib came by once more. Bringing supplies. He brought news too. Word is spreading, he said. Other colonies heard what happened. They say a strange girl fought off a full team of cleaners. Some say she was lightning. Some say she walked through stone. Zira raised an eyebrow. Do they know my name? No, Merib said. They just call you the one who turned back. Beano laughed. I like that. Merib grinned. There's more. Some colonies are starting to question Red Corps. They want answers. Zira looked, hopeful for the first time. After Merib left, Beano and Zira sat on a rock near the new garden. Small green leaves had begun to rise through the soil. Zira touched one gently. Life grows even here. Beano nodded. Just like you, she looked. At him? Will you keep helping me? He smiled. Until the stars go dark. The sun began to set behind the hills. The snow reflected gold and orange. The stars above slowly returned. Zira leaned back, her golden eyes now calm, her body strong, her heart open. She was not 07 anymore. She was just Zira. Not a weapon, not a tool, just a person. And she was not alone.